guess who's back?
That would be us.
That's us.
I'm Katrina Madewell.
And I am Jason McIntosh.
And you're listening to
Live, Love, and Loss. Episode number 12.
Which is all about rekindling the flame and how to bring that spark back to a stale
Come
relationship.
on, baby, light that fire.
Well, you know that spark can disappear and that flame can get a little dim. Mm-hmm. So we don't want the whole show to be about our dead spouses, or like crazy dating. We want to talk about some cool stuff too.
Yeah, cool
so
stuff.
how to bring that spark back. All right, so what's your longest? How long were you with Helena in total, and what was your longest relationship in since you lost her?
Oh boy. Well, so
you give me that look like you're stepping in poo.
I know. Well, 11 years. And so,
with Helena?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we met in 97. So we would almost be 3 decades as well. We'd be going into 28 years.
Chris and I met in 94.
94, there you go.
Married in 98.
Yeah, so she passed in 2008. So 17 years, longest relation after may have been, I would say, 2 years. Maybe I made it to the 2-year mark, which is, good for me.
What do you think happened there? Was it a mutual parting or a one-way thing?
Yeah.
Or do you think did it get stale? Like, what was it?
I think it was maybe doomed from the beginning. No, that's a terrible thing to say. So we're both Aries, so we maybe, right? Maybe we were a little too yings and no yangs.
Too alike?
Yeah, maybe we're both a little too alpha and a little too Aries, and also too culturally, perhaps. I mean, she was Colombian, so very spicy, but my wife was Polish, so she was very European and very loud and bold and opinionated. The best way I could put it, and it worked. So I think in this situation, why didn't it work? Maybe it was me. I don't know. I don't have the answer. You'll have to ask her.
I think about any type of relationship I might have in the future, or even dating now, and I'm like, yeah, it's 100% me. It's me. I know it's me.
Well, okay, so she was also in real estate. And before you talk about the company Inc. and everything else, I had met her prior to being an agent on the team, and then she became an agent on the team. But I was always given, not like the ultimatum, but I remember it was like, well, if you had to choose between me being your girlfriend or an agent, which would it be? And I'm like, well, why should there be a choice? Like if we are, and we were also, I thought, getting more serious. So we were actually going to take the relationship to the next level and move in together. And we actually did find a place, started to furnish it. And this is at the time where my oldest, had her first child. And then it was at that moment, right? So she had children of her own. It was almost like, okay, it's time for you to fly, to go. So because she was in a relationship of her own. So It's like, here, you need your freedom, your own place. So she got set up. So if you ask her, it would be differently. I threw her out, but that's not what happened.
So your daughter your older daughter was living with you
still
at that time. Yeah.
And so, but she never moved in, right? So it was almost like a commitment, fear of commitment there too, as far as that whole, it was, here was the disconnect for me, and it was the deal breaker. There was always me and my. Well, my things and my dreams and my this, and like, okay, that's great. I mean, I still want you to have all those same dreams and goals and aspirations, but what about our?
So it doesn't sound like any we. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no we.
Yep.
And so that was that.
Which, if you're going to be living together, there should be a little.
No, there was a disconnect. But when she almost asked me to make a decision, and it's like, well, how can we share life together if we can't even be on the same team together? Like that's That's an issue to me. I'm not. What do you mean choose? Both. I mean, so you're going to continue to be a real estate agent somewhere else? I mean, how did that?
That would be a little weird.
That don't make sense. I mean, so that didn't really kind of work for me, and so it kind of just, But we were definitely still friends. We were still able to be friends after, and then after we stopped seeing each other, she was still on the team, still a friend on the team, and. Well, that's a whole nother show why she's not here anymore, and had nothing to do with me and her. It had more to along the lines of someone else. So,
okay.
But anyway, so that was the longest for me, and what the fuck? Well, there's the F word there too. So,
hopefully, we're not nationally syndicated with this show.
Well, it did say the whole. He left out the last half of it. So, and I didn't push the button, so you can't blame it on me. I think. What was I saying? Where was I going? I was saying
we were talking about 2 years moving in.
Yeah.
She left the team.
Well, it's almost like that part was when you're already starting to have those thoughts. I mean, it's not heading in the right direction. And I think somehow you just really kind of know, because that's part of the visualizing we're talking about. If you can't visualize together and you're visualizing, separate lives, then you are going to live separate lives.
Right.
So that in of itself was the disconnect and the divide, and didn't work it. So since then, I have remained single, and I'm still very single. But
how have your kids acted? Like, especially in that situation where someone was going to be moving in, did they get along?
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, no. No. In the beginning, I think my oldest never really saw. I don't know if she realizes this, but I don't think that she was ever able to picture me with anyone else, right?
Got it.
And even so ironic, even after she had children of her own, and she's 19 years old, 11 years later, there was still that feeling because I forever remained very single and did not have women around in my life.
Right.
And didn't date women in front of them. There might have been shortly after, not so long after, there might have been a few attempts, and it wasn't received too well, right? So.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm living that one.
Where my youngest, it hits way differently for her. Because she doesn't
have a memory of
exactly
her mom.
So, but you'd want your father to be happy, and so for me, it's you have to be very aware too of even others that you may encounter that because talking about relationships and loss, and it's there's the whole rebound effect, I think, and if some people come out of relationship and rebound and don't get the moment to rediscover and find themselves and have to heal themselves.
I think that's important too after loss, like the loss of a spouse. It's really important to have that time and not jump into a relationship.
And so, probably the situation that happened to me is, where I wasn't necessarily looking for anything. I was happy kind of where I was in my own space. And this is so many years later. Sometimes when you're not looking for it, something just kind of appears, and that's kind of what happened for me, because I almost accepted my fate of just being single the rest of my life, right? And so this little situation materialized and started to take on its own life, and there was conversations, and there was things, and heading in a direction, and things that were said even amongst family members, and getting out of a bad relationship, and a relationship that was not a healthy relationship, and maybe even some abuse there, and but so what was heading in a direction ceased, and this person ended up going back to the other situation, the not healthy situation. So
it was at this moment he knew
that I did know, and so that was not easy, and that was a very hard thing to deal with for me. It still is. It was another loss that I experienced, a loss of something that was never there. It was supposed to be there. So, and that happened.
If you're talking about living together, I mean, that's a big deal.
No.
Oh, it's a different one. Got it.
Different.
Okay.
We weren't living.
Mixed them all up. My bad.
You did. So anyway,
I thought it was different, and then I thought it was the
enough of
same.
that
So
story.
got it.
So,
Yeah.
I'm single. How about that?
So
No relationship.
we're talking about the re-spark, right? And I think a lot of couples, especially when I think about myself, I was married for a long time. I was with my husband for over 30 years. You can get so wrapped up and lost in your everyday routine that you're sort of on autopilot. And so is your love life. And I think a lot of married couples can relate to this, just being on autopilot in your routine. You do the same thing day in, day out. And it's, I don't know, after grief and the stress that comes with that, I think if you've lost a partner or a spouse to a death, certainly I think you might be more in tune with that maybe than I ever was before, especially redating when it's such a funky world out there and it's hard enough to figure out how to have compatibility.
Yeah, it can be a very shocking thing because you're so out of touch almost with. I mean, it's generationally. It's even different times right now. So you're definitely out of practice and out of touch, and it could be seemingly overwhelming, right? And like, where do I even begin? Where do I start? You want to get back out there, but just even the act of it can be tiring. And then a few bad outings doesn't help either. But I think you got to be really careful.
So there was this Instagram post. It's so
Okay.
appropriate to share it right now. So this is me, right? This is how I feel, and you can laugh and poke fun at me.
I can't wait. Let's do it.
And it's okay, but it's gonna be so fun. All right, I'm gonna turn it up.
Let me see it.
Let's hear it.
Oh, we're gonna listen to it.
It's a little Friends clip. Hold on, let's go back here. Let's turn on the audio.
To go on dates. The last time I was single, I was 24, and the dating pool was everyone. And now it's like a shallow
That's
pool
Leslie Mann.
of age-appropriate men who are old and gross, and I don't want to do that. I know that you think that it's that bad, honestly.
Anyway,
That's Leslie Mann. She's great.
yeah, I thought that was that's so appropriate right now.
That's so
for
very
me.
appropriate. There's the movie. This is 40. Watch it with her and Paul Rudd. Hilarious. Melissa McCarthy makes a little cameo in there too. Definitely must watch. But anyway, yeah.
So if you're in a relationship and it feels like autopilot and you don't have this fresh dating fun spark that you had when you met, spice it up. Keep it fun.
Yeah. Costumes aren't just for Halloween. So,
Yep. Rob, throughout the John Cena, you could do a little MMA in the bedroom.
Yeah,
There you
right.
go.
That's right. Well, the traveling part I think is good, healthy, and change of scenery. Sometimes it changes the scenery. So that's probably why traveling keeps it interesting, keeps the spark, keeps the spontaneity.
There's this little box that I had bought, I remember when I was still married to it, and they have these for kids too. They're like conversation table starters. It's like in a clear cube. They're like about the size of a baseball card, but they're perfectly square. And on there is conversation starters. So there's ones for relationships too. So if you get a little stale,
Interesting.
get a box of those, pick out a random card, and that could be your dinner conversation,
I see.
right? Or your date conversation.
Well, don't they have that same game with like different acts of acts like in the bedroom kind of thing?
Perhaps that could spice it up too.
It's kind of like adult Pictionary, I think.
There you go.
There you go.
So that's a way to spice up the routine and
Definitely
break it up a
spice it
little
up.
bit. So getting that intentional intimacy, that's what Rob's saying with the music there.
Oh yeah.
So how those small little daily things, right? It could be a touch. My
Your
husband,
love language.
yeah, my husband was very much about affection and touch. It was really important for him.
He was an Aries. What? Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So just the little things like holding his hand,
It's so wild. I mean,
scratching his back.
say what you want. I don't know, astrology and all of that, and it's there's just something to your sign, your stars. It holds true, right, with other people that you meet, because all Aries are that way.
I'm Scorpio, so I have the stinger.
Yeah.
So for me, it's acts
see
of
that.
service. I used to tell my husband all the time, nothing says I love you like taking out the trash.
I was just gonna say taking out the trash, right?
Washing the dishes, taking out the trash. Like
Yeah.
for me, I would feel appreciated and loved. Not that I didn't appreciate the affection. It's just That was his love language. He needed it. You said it's an Aries thing.
Yeah, we're all wired differently.
So words of affirmation are a big one for some people. If you it's a book, right? The love languages. Have you read that book?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
It's a good one.
Did a whole entire podcast on it, actually.
Yeah, because you can figure out what your love languages are and what your partner's love languages are, and many times those are different, and that's okay.
Well, acts of service, so words are just words without the acts of service, right? So, they all hold true on their own, but together when they work in tandem can be quite amazing.
Yeah, for somebody like me, where acts of service are important, gifts are not, right? Gifts are one of the things. So my husband and I had this big thing like Valentine's Day. Maybe when we were young, but we did this, but certainly not in our later years at all. Like more than half of our marriage, we would not buy gifts for Valentine's Day. We wouldn't even go out. And so for me, I remember when I was young, one time my husband sent me a Christmas bouquet. It was like red roses with like little pine things in there. It was the most beautiful bouquet I think I had ever seen. Yeah. And for me, I appreciated getting that random Christmas bouquet that I wasn't expecting versus just the expectation of getting Valentine's Day flowers, which many females are that way.
No, it's interesting because Aries too. They're very romantic too, and so gestures and things like they're givers for sure. They give, and so I just love giving gifts. I'm a gift giver, and the thought of it and the gesture of it, and being creative with it. So for me, it's not always necessarily received that well, if there is an appreciation of that, right? So there's some sticks out in mind where, I've given someone some flowers and I'm like, I'm not really a big flower person, and I'd rather you just do this, and I'm like, oh, okay. Mental note.
Yeah, I can see why that would be a little bit crushing, like a little. Speaking of which, the last date I went on, the guy brought me flowers. I was shocked. I was like, wow, this is interesting. Wasn't expecting this one.
There's a reason why that. Yeah, I mean,
I definitely said thank you.
There's a reason why your picker's broke, and
mine.
You go. No, not yours.
Oh.
And I'm being a little salty. You
My
go from
picker's broken.
A little bitter.
Your picker's broken.
No, mine's not. Well, yes, it is broken for sure. I think sometimes you're attracted to what you can have, or what
Oh, definitely.
And I think that if it comes too easy, there's a whole way of thinking. You can't.
It's definitely true for guys. They want what they can't have or what they perceive as harder to get.
It's very confusing, like hot and cold and mixed signals, and it's so confusing. Like what women say they want, they don't really type thing, but yet you try to call them out and they get all mad, and it's a whole nother show, so I don't want to, or should we?
I think it definitely would be another show.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely would be another show. Quality time's a big one for some folks. That's their love language. They like that quality time together.
No, it's a must. You have to have date night. You have to have you. I mean, me time's good too, but like if there's too much me time and not enough we time, that's a problem.
Yeah. My husband didn't really have any me time at all. He was not a me person. He was a we person.
Well, but he liked it that way. That's what he preferred.
Yeah, I liked the me time. I liked it. Like I could feel a little bit smothered if it was always we and never any me.
Yeah. Yep. So how do you suggest going about that for those that are still in that relationship?
For somebody like me that likes that me time, I would say
not that. I mean, how you have boundaries, but how do you communicate that to your partner, where maybe they are a little smothery or clingy, or do you introduce something they're passionate about? Maybe acts of service, maybe provide something for them to do on their own type of a thing. Introduce them to something. I mean, how do you go about doing that?
So you get to know people better, right?
Yep.
The longer you're with them. And so the running joke is my husband would say, I'm never going to talk to you before you have coffee, right? But for me, it wasn't necessarily as much about the coffee as it was just that alone time. I like to get up, have quiet, don't talk to me. I like to read and write and just have my time and wake up, and I'd be like a different person on the other side of that.
You're collecting yourself, and the act of just even the dopamine rush of the coffee and everything else, and you're getting in your own thoughts, visualizing your day, and collecting yourself. I can see that. Yeah.
So he knew that, and he could be super sweet about that, right? So if I was sitting on the lanai and I already had a cup of coffee, and he could see that I was like feverishly writing or just wrapped up in reading something. I mean, sometimes he would try to impede on that, but other times he was like just giving me my space.
Yeah.
He'd bring me another cup of coffee, and then for me, I just appreciate that. Like, I get it all out, and I had my time, and then it's a good time to acknowledge your partner and their love language, which is touch. For him, that was a big one.
That's a great point, because what that is getting to know them and what makes them tick, giving them the boundaries and knowing when it's the right time, reading the room. That's very, very good.
Yep. And I would tell him, I loved my grandfather to bits. Like, he was like my father. He dang near raised me. And even my grandfather, as much as I loved him and would never be snappy with him, I did not want anyone to talk to me in the morning.
So, okay, so that brings up another important thing. So you know someone so well, so as you get out there and you knock the cobwebs off and you're reinventing yourself, finding yourself, and you're going to go out there and maybe start to meet someone else. You're always maybe kind of trying to do that comparison maybe a little too much, right?
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, because they're so used to you guys walk in tandem, knowing what each other's thinking without saying a word, because you know them so well. So, this is a different person. So you have to respect that, understand that. You almost have to relearn and reprogram, not quite yourself, but just the way they tick, and make those adjustments, make those compromises. So that might be the part that becomes a little challenging. But if you stop and think about the beginning and your relationship back in the very beginning, you lived and went through those same things. So you're just doing it again with a different person.
Yeah, you're right. And it's so new, and that's the fun part of the relationship is when it's new. I think when the
butterflies,
when the
Twitter-pated, Twitter-pated.
When that wears off and you're in this routine on autopilot, that's really when you have to observe this and say, this might, and that's probably why a lot of marriages and relationships end. Yeah. Because they get to that place where they're past the butterflies, yet that staleness and, loss of intimacy.
Well, the core values, it goes back to core values and being properly aligned. And, I think that there's a real lack of intimacy if your core values aren't aligned from the beginning. And that could be, if you don't have the foundation, that's a relationship that cannot be built, right?
Yeah.
You can't build a home on quicksand.
We talked about religion and faith, that being a big part of a core value. And I think that it should be for a lot of people.
Politics and even all of that, the way that you think family, what is important to you, what your priorities are, those should not be compromised, and you should not have to compromise those for another person. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be open-minded about things. And you can learn things about yourself you didn't know were there. Maybe even some of your beliefs may change somewhat, because you're educated. You're exposed to something that you did not know before. So it's maybe not a change in beliefs fundamentally, but it could just be something that like I said, you weren't exposed to before. I think of even my own parents. My mother grew up a Catholic, and to this day they're still married and they're Christian, right? So those are two different ways of thinking for sure. I mean, in Christianity, you do not pray to anyone other than, Jesus, Lord and Savior. You don't pray to Mary. You don't pray to the saints. You pray to one person only.
Well, I think I shared this with you and maybe our audience listening before, but my husband's mother was very French, Orthodox Catholic, strong European Catholic. And my background was everything from Jewish to Southern Baptist. It was a pretty funky mix. Yeah. And so you try to marry those two. That can, if you don't know how you're going to handle that right away, that could be a thing. For us, we ended up getting married in a Methodist church, and that was a pretty good middle ground.
Combination of
and then later we kind of migrated to non-denominational Bible-based faith, and that worked really well for our marriage and our life. And but I could see where people might be at a huge impasse, especially a religion like Jewish people. I mean, it's very different if you're a Christian. The holidays are different. Everything is different.
And sometimes even like the family, they look down upon the outsider, right?
Yeah.
And marrying outside your own kind, you know.
Yeah.
So it is different. You know, and for some that may be not as important. So I mean, it just goes back to that. I think it's, you know, your other half is supposed to be exactly that, your other half, right?
Yeah.
And so, but you know, you grow together. You start out as two halves, and you grow into a whole. And that's the part where you accept someone for, it's unconditional. You know, you accept them for who they are and what they believe, and some people, I don't think there's enough of that in the beginning stages, and you know, the internet and apps and everything else, it puts everything at the forefront. So it's very easy to hide behind those things. It's very easy to build this facade, even a facade where we find out, like you see all of these documentaries of, you know, behind the scenes, and they have the facade of what this life really looks like. And if it's too perfect or too good to be true, it is. What's going on behind closed doors is a whole nother world. They're painting this persona that you want them to see, and they're not even really that person, or they become this monster, right? It's just so interesting, right? So it's a lot like that in relationships and in the dating world, right? It's you strip away all the technology, you strip away texting, you strip away Tinder, all of the apps, and maybe we do need to strip all that away and go back to the very core and the basis, humanity, you know, meeting people somewhere. I mean, that's how people fell in love and met before all of that.
Because it was organic, and
That's
all this
the
stuff
word.
is
Very
inorganic.
organic.
Yeah.
It is. So,
but we don't even live in that world anymore.
know,
I mean, when you think about it, it's people like we were joking around about the whole grocery cart bumping thing, right? Being funny and silly. But I started thinking about this on the way here. I'm like, I don't even go to the grocery store. I literally order Walmart and they deliver it to the door.
You're likely to get pepper sprayed if you bump somebody in the cart.
What about like the hot Instacart delivery person? I don't know. But anyway.
I don't even see them. They drop it off.
I know, me too. Same. Well, it's interesting. I had said many shows ago that it's something I haven't fully committed to and done, but I planned it, talked about it. But
what, the grocery cart bumping?
No.
Oh.
There's other ways outside of just even like the traditional, outside of like online dating. And, you know, I haven't tried it yet, you know, but there's the
matchmakers.
The matchmaking. That is a whole different philosophy, and even goes back to biblical times. And even you talked about Jewish and things of that nature. There are some cultures that's what they do. It's almost like you call it an arranged marriage, but it's the matchmaking is the whole premise is you go there, you do your little intake, they ask you all the questions, you know, a couple hours, they get to know everything, what makes you tick from top to bottom, and then physically, fundamentally, everything, values, all of that, belief system, and then they find you someone that matches all those as close as possible. And if you stop and think about that, the odds of success are greater there if you're marrying someone what you're looking for, or you're entering a relationship of exactly what you're looking for. And it's not necessarily they have to be a carbon copy yourself, because that's not the yin and yang either. So some people prefer to have someone who is maybe more outgoing or less outgoing. They want to have that little yin and yang, because sometimes too much is too much, right? So it just really depends. I mean, that's why you have to really stop and think of what is it I'm looking for in a partner? What are my deal breakers? What are my must-haves? And if you hear me saying that, it's almost like I'm talking to, you know, a salesperson doing sales training, or I'm talking to one of my agents, because just like with anything, there's a discovery phase. Whether you're buying a home, you're buying a car, you're buying a needs analysis. You have to have a needs analysis.
I think we look at it from that perspective because we nail that, right?
Yeah.
But here you are in your life, 17 years later, single.
We're not doing the needs analysis, but at the same time, careful. I don't mean quite literally, because then I've also had I'm being cross-examined, you know, and I feel like I'm on an interview. Don't do that on date number one, you know.
Which is why it's probably better if someone else is doing the
That's
interview,
it.
saying, "Hey, we think you guys are compatible."
There is something to this thing. So it is my mission for that to happen at some point. Maybe some good legwork is for me to try to hire one of these matchmakers myself just to go through the process.
Yeah. Then that would be fun, and then you could share your experience.
Yeah, it would be very interesting if that would have a better course of action, because it is busy professionals. Where do you go to meet someone, right? That's tough. I mean, I think that's the hardest part about exploring and reinventing yourself. Not necessarily reinventing yourself. You're still the same person, always will be, but it's you're adjusting to what's different now from what you're used to, and so you have learned behavior, and you're having to go out into the world, and it's different times, and people dress different, look different, talk different, and
I mean, the dating apps exist because people don't have the opportunities that they had back in the day. We don't do the same thing that we did 30 years ago today. We just don't.
Yeah.
And so that's why the dating apps exist. That's why people are single longer, I think. And honestly, their picker's probably broken, right? Because they're picking first based on looks, and then how the conversation may or may not go.
But
if you're starting in a text, someone's having an off day, it might not even be who that person really is.
Yeah, but that's also why so many relationships don't work either, because fundamentally it was doomed from the beginning because of the foundation, right?
Yeah.
So it's just...
I think there's a lot of value in that.
When you get it right and you're in that relationship that is working, I mean, you nailed it. So, it's not like you're trying to recreate that over again, right? Because this time around, you may find yourself attracted to a completely different person. And that's also another good point and a takeaway is they're not a replacement. So you're not looking to replace who's left you behind. You're looking just to create those new memories in the next chapter of your life. If that's your final
an opportunity for a part two.
Yeah.
It's just different, chapter two.
And so, and it isn't any type of betrayal, right? It's not a betrayal. We keep bringing that up as a recurring theme, that it's okay, and it's almost like they give you the permission to move on. And we did talk about that, I think, in some of the shows that we had, where you have to have these difficult conversations, especially when someone is sick and that they're terminally ill and it's inevitable. You're having these conversations. You're talking about life afterwards, and you absolutely have to do that, especially before they get to the point where they're too sick and they're on all the different type of drugs to keep them comfortable, and they're not as lucid as they were.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the flip side of it, where you just wake up and they're gone, right? So they never make it home. So that's why...
Let's face it, no one wants to talk about that. If you're in that position, that's the last thing you're talking about.
They don't, but you should, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
You should. And I can't stress that enough. Like, you should know... Here, why would you not want to know someone as much as in life and death? It's till death do us part. Well, then you should want to know, you know what I mean? Even before death, after death, every bit of it during death. I mean, it's very important to know someone that well on that level. So if you're not having those conversations about what it looks like after, oh no, I don't want to think about that. Okay, but we have to, whether it's me or you, let's get this out of the way, right? And communication is key in any relationship.
Well, and we're talking about rekindling the spark, right? And getting through some of these hard things in any relationship, just healing through some of those hurts. So the unspoken resentment, right? How many times people go into a relationship or even a marriage and there's something that the other person did that really upset them, but they don't talk about it enough. They don't, for whatever reason, they bury it and don't address how it hurt them
and it spills
emotionally.
Over into the next.
It sits there until it comes out. And sometimes those can be really big fights when they come out. And a lot of these things can form, especially during hard seasons of your life, right? When things are money problems, that's a big one. People have money problems. There's a lot of pent up things that come with that people hold on to for a long time.
Yeah. And
you got to talk about those. How you live in good times and bad can be a difference in a relationship.
Well, and having companionship is very important. And I think even if you ask those that maybe don't have a companion, I mean, deep down they want one, right? And so
I think companionship's different than relationship, though. Don't you think?
No, I think they're fundamentally the same. Yeah.
How so? I think they're
Because
different.
if the person you're in a relationship, you can't use the word companion, then you're not really in a relationship, or you shouldn't be in a relationship. Because I think of a companion is more to me. A companion has a intimate context, because a companion is, I can see myself doing anything with this person and going anywhere with this person, but at the same time, the companion too. I know my companion so well that the story you told about, Chris giving you that little bit of time because they know you so well, that's because he's your companion, for better or for worse. So
do you think the relationship comes first or the companionship comes first?
That's good. That's a good question. The companionship comes as a product of the relationship, because you can be in a relationship that you're just living together, and in a relationship that's very unhealthy and not healthy, and there's resentment there. You have lost the loving feeling, and you're
talking about coexisting in a relationship.
That's it. And you're fantasizing about, a better life, or the life that you had before, or the beginning of the relationship, or that's just a relation. You're going through the motions. A companionship is to me, more intimate.
See, I think about that so differently.
Really?
That's why I'm glad we're having this conversation. Because when I think about,
maybe we need to define and look up what the definition of a companion is. I mean,
way ahead of you, man.
Yeah. I figured.
So I'll share, and then Rob, I'd be great if you could chime in on the actual Webster dictionary version. But for me, when I think about companionship, I think about, being friends before you can be anything else. So I think about companionship, like going to the movies, hanging out with somebody.
Well, that could be a pet,
having
could
dinner.
be a companion. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
For me, that when I think about companionship, I have that before a relationship.
That's a form of intimacy. Going out and having stimulating conversations. Intimacy is a lot of different things. Intimacy does not have to be sexual and physical. You can have intellectual intimacy. You can have intimacy with a pet. You can have intimacy with a friend. You can have intimacy with your children. You're doing things that are, not.
It's letting people in your personal
not
space.
A worldly context of intimacy, right? So, intimacy is just knowing someone at their core. It's a beautiful thing.
All right. So what's the Webster's version? What's the dictionary say the difference between relationship and companionship?
Does anybody still use a dictionary? Man, I thought we were all
online.
ChatGPT
and like Google. And all right, so Google says the definition of companion is a person or animal with whom one spends a lot of time with, or one travels.
Oh, okay.
A pair of things, one of a pair.
Okay.
And it defines a relationship as the way in which two or more objects, people, or concepts are connected. So it's not so much defining the individuals, but the way that they share a connection.
Now do the
That's
same
true.
for intimate or intimacy.
Intimacy. I've heard that you guys use that word a lot on this show, and there's Shrek and who
Fiona?
plays Shrek? No. Who plays Mike Myers? There's a movie called Love Guru.
Yeah, I saw that one.
You saw that one,
Yep.
and there's the way that he broke down intimacy in this spoof of a movie. It's Mike Myers, right? It has to be stupid comedy, but the way he broke intimacy down was into me I see. So it's that you see into yourself for someone else to love you. So like earlier, Katrina, you said, how can anybody love you if you don't love yourself?
Right.
And I think into me I see, or intimacy, is exactly what you're saying. So
Wow.
you have to be intimate with yourself.
Full circle. That's strong.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting that the definition also included pets.
Yeah. Yep. So define the intimacy.
So intimacy is a state of close personal connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, letting someone into your space.
There it is. I'm smarter
Like you
than
said,
I look.
You could be intimate. You and I could have an intimate
Absolutely.
relationship with the show that we're having, where we get to know.
This is very intimate topics that we're talking about.
We get to know each other personally in that way, even though we're not intimately on a sexual.
I don't think intimacy doesn't always have to be sexually connected.
But I think
That's
a lot
what
of
I just
people think
said.
that.
Yeah. The connotation of the word
That's
nowadays.
true intimacy, actually.
What?
Is it's so true. So it's almost like intimacy isn't necessarily sexual in nature at all, right? Intimacy is, the rest of that comes with intimacy starts there first, right? And then it's so intimate that's where obviously when you're attracted to someone in that way, in that physical way, that's when the
So
rest
is
is
sex
history.
is sex in your mind then the deepest part, or the most?
That is correct.
The deepest part of
The
intimacy?
ultimate, deepest part of intimacy that you share with the person that you are attracted to, that you see them in that way. Obviously, when you're speaking of pets and you're speaking of children, that's completely different, and people blur the lines there. They blur the lines. So, you can have the same feelings in that way that you're not attracted to them in that way. Does that make sense? So it's a physical intimacy. You're going to have intimacy with someone that you don't necessarily have a physical intimacy with, whether it's another man, a woman, or what have you. It's people confuse the two of them, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, in the simplest form, it's letting someone into your inner self.
Yes. Yep.
It's a really, really simple way to say it.
And that's the other thing too, is it's very hard to sometimes think in those lines of intimacy when you've getting out there for the first time, or if you've been in that 30-year relationship, 11-year relationship, 2-year relationship, and you've experienced the loss, and so now you've already got that you're dealing with, so you're going through that, and then even the loss could be a breakup, could be a divorce. I mean, that's still a loss. So you are getting to know someone for the first time, and that there's even some intimacy in the act of intimacy, getting to know someone, right?
So what are your thoughts on hookups? Do you think there's a relationship or an intimacy that can come from starting the hookup?
That is a complete lack of intimacy.
Okay.
That is the polar opposite of intimacy. You are.
I guess the question is,
that is very erotic. You're very
right.
turned on. You're very in the motion. It's a conquest. You're at your peak of your erotic desire, and you're giving in to your desire. You are succumbing to your desire. There is no intimacy involved in that, right?
But the question is, do you think intimacy could follow if you started a relationship from that place?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So like people that have sex on the first date versus those that don't? Is that what you're asking?
Kind of, yeah.
No, I mean,
or if it's just a Tinder booty call. I mean, you're like, this is it. It's the last date I went on. The guy that brought me flowers, he was hell bent on, you're gonna go home, you're gonna find me irresistible. We're gonna have sex, and I'm like, I'm don't think so, buddy.
Yeah, well,
like I'm just not that way.
That's just plain creepy. But
just telling you, like I think in his mind he thought something, and.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm not trying to sound like this, but I'm going to be transparent. I don't even really kiss people on a first date. So I think I'm still weird about people touching me. Honestly, I think I'm still in that
space. Did you kiss Chris on the first date?
No.
Okay.
What I'm trying to think. Hold on. So I met him, a long time ago, Rob.
So the reason why I'm asking this question is, are you approaching first dates nowadays different than you did when you first experienced success?
That's what I'm trying to think. And it's so long ago. I hate to say I don't remember, but I don't think I did. Yeah. I don't think I did. Our first date was ABC Pizza, and he had Tyler.
Shout out ABC Pizza.
Yeah, he had the little one. Tyler was 8 months old, and I do not.
Wait, he brought his 8-month-old on the first date?
He did. And I told you, it was one of these things where
Interesting.
I kind of got blackmailed sort of into the date. It was like this guy John, which dated my best friends.
Did you know that he was going to show up with an 8-month-old?
No, I didn't know. But I had told John anyway that I was only going to have one date with him and never call him again. So why not lunch, right? Because it's not really a date; it's just lunch. So that's what I did, and I thought, oof, okay, yeah. I don't think I did, Rob. I think the answer to that question is no.
Well, especially with
I did
8-month-old
not. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, there's that, but I don't even know if we did. The second one, I'm trying to think. We did have sex way earlier on than I think I would now.
Well, there's that. Yeah. Okay.
But I don't.
Good job, Chris.
I don't think we kissed on the first date.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
This went full circle. All right. To wrap up this show.
Wrap it up. We're like 5 minutes in.
Well, the teamwork and growth work, right? So going back to that we part, so rediscovering the shared goals, building new ones. What's your goals as a team, as a couple? Or, you think about the proverbial power couple that have their goals in their life and everything planned out. I think if you lose some, even those small goals, you lose that teamwork part of it.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So like the training wheels have to. It's almost like you got to put the training wheels back on because you're learning to ride the bike. You know, it's not like just jumping on the bike again. It's like, oh, it's just like riding a bike. You know, and again, no. So you almost have to put the training wheels back on. And so where I'm going with this is, please don't go into this trying to go into this thing to fail. You want to fail forward. So go into this thing to go on some bad dates, go on this thing to get some context. Don't rebound into like you are finding your next, maybe it happens that way and nothing wrong if it does. But if you go set very, 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 very low expectations, set no expectations is what I'm getting at. Get out there, date, you just date.
I think for me, when I have gone on dates, that's what I told myself. It's just a date. It's just lunch. It's just a date. My first date ever after losing Chris was just lunch.
Yeah. Yep. So I think that, and you know, I have to practice what I preach, and I have to take my own advice sometimes. And you know, you just got to get it out of your system, and you got to learn to ride the bike again.
So I have a question for you guys. Is it okay for that to be all it ever is?
What do you mean?
So you're going on dates with people in the mindset that this is just a date. I want to have maybe a relationship with somebody, but I don't want to have the same intimate relationship with, or have the same expectations of having that sort of relationship with, like what you had your first time with your spouse.
There's less pressure, yes, for sure. But I think even that statement in of itself is overthinking, right? My point is, don't overthink everything. That person that you have your first date with that might be your last first date ever again. It may just work out perfectly and the stars align and you hit the winning lottery ticket once again. So I'm not saying like you're going into that with the sole intentions to just keep dating, you know. What I'm saying is don't set any expectations. Yeah. Don't overthink things. Go into it with an open mind. Take the blinders off. And just the very act of you doing that is a victory in of itself, because life does go on, unfortunately, as cruel as it sounds. You know, the world keeps spinning, and that's just the act of you continuing to live, right? And
it's a good question that you brought up, Rob.
Because that wouldn't be fair to the other person too, I don't think, because maybe they're at a different place in life, right? And so, I mean, I know I'm thinking about this as he said this, and you guys can chime in or attack or whatever. I won't be offended either way. But I'm thinking about this person I know. I've known him for 35 years. He's always been a friend.
You have a friend. You've mentioned this person multiple times.
He lost his spouse years ago, and it was some random something on Facebook, and I really just messaged him to check in on him.
I smell a hookup.
No, it was not. I haven't even kissed him.
Is this the same guy that you spent New Year's with?
No.
Okay.
Something terrible right here. Anyway.
Oh, the other guy.
We spent a lot of.
Which guy is this one again?
Shut up. Listen. I got a point. I'm trying to say something. I'm trying to answer your question, and then you guys can chime in.
That guy.
I was hanging out with him, having drinks, dinner, movies, different things like that. And for me, it was fun. It was. I was starting to be. I was already comfortable with him because I knew him, and starting to get more comfortable.
You felt free. Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, being comfortable is an important thing.
Then I start getting text messages, right, at different hours, probably with alcohol involved, and then there was a little bit of like uncomfort there, like in some of those messages where I was like, I was like kind of like backed off.
Yeah, because he read it differently.
Yeah,
than you
so
did.
I think he was seeing it as a date, and I was seeing it as companionship.
Yeah.
And I mean, back to and I don't know how this sounds, but I even with him, I didn't kiss him. I don't know. I think it's just I have to feel that spark to feel that way.
Yeah. So I think even if you don't kiss someone on the first date, I talked about this too several shows ago, where alpha as the primal need or the alpha ness in me, you look for that little bit of reassurance that, no, this is real and I'm into you, right? And so you know, because it can be confusing, and it's not a good feeling to not know where you stand. And so I think that little things that you can do, like, you know, when, you know, they can laugh at your jokes, but then when they just kind of lay the hand there and let it linger a little bit, you know, just a little bit of a touch, you know, and on the shoulder or wherever
Yeah,
it's
and
at.
I didn't do that.
No, exactly.
So-
So to me, I would find it difficult to, you know,
See further intimacy in that?
well, no, women want a guy to take the lead. That's great, you know, but at the same time, I mean, you know, they don't want him to take the lead if they're not into him either, right? But I mean, but on the flip side, there's an assertiveness too that maybe women are attracted to. That, you know, that is the that becomes the attraction.
I would say
perhaps.
that's true for me.
Yeah.
In some respects.
Taking the lead, but so
I would know. I
he's
think
trying to take the lead there, but you just don't have the attraction, right? Or
maybe
at this point, you know, maybe
I don't know. I mean, for me, financial independence and security is a big thing too, and I feel like, you know, he's older than me and doesn't have a shit together, and so that's an important factor for me.
Yeah,
like I'm not looking to be anybody's mama, you know.
Yeah, that could be one of your core values or one of your deal breakers, which is okay. It's everybody's entitled to their own.
I think it is. I think that you hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah, and
I think I might look at things different or look at the relationship or friendship different if there was different dynamics there.
yeah, because then there's a certain lack of respect, you know, or a you're gonna you know, man doesn't want to be looked at as lesser. I don't think in any way, shape, or form. So
and I never tried to do that. I don't think I did. I just,
you know, even if you make more money than your spouse, it isn't necessarily that so much as it is, you know, like a man being a man in every way. You know, provider is, you know, that's
for me, that's not it because I don't need a provider.
yeah, at this stage in the game, you know. So, and what you're looking for now could be way different than what you were looking for in the beginning, right?
For sure, yeah.
And some women want to the act of someone providing or protector or provider and protectors might be different but the same for some. So that's the whole point is what you're looking for now may be different than before and may have changed due to your circumstances or where you are in life now as opposed to where you were then.
So I don't even watch a lot of movies. I even took note about the 2 movies you guys mentioned so that if I get in the mood to watch a movie, I can watch one of them because I don't watch enough movies. But for me, I think, and I don't even really watch chick flicks either, but when you think about the notorious chick flick, right? It's the hanging out with somebody, having fun, the laughing, and then you just become more connected.
That's intimacy.
In that, like for me, I think that's how I see a relationship. Someone that's like there's a grown attraction.
Yeah. Well, you got to watch more movies with more guys than that's
I guess.
definitely intimacy because you go here. There's nothing more intimate about being able to just hang out at home and not have to have a night out and just whether it's popcorn, wine, beer, whatever it is, or whatever you're doing, just watching the movie together and laughing together and you know, it's a horror flick, you know, little cuddling or whatever. I don't know.
Those scare the crap out of me. It'd probably be a good way to get close because it scares the crap out of me.
So I think that's important.
Yeah. Well,
my question originally was, is it okay if that's your goal is to just continue dating? Because
I suppose it is, but
for some people, like I'm just asking for because it's been much shorter of a time for you.
Yes.
Well, they say that right there.
And there's that.
If people have answered the app truthfully or they filled out that portion on the app, if you're on the app, let's say, that's one of the things they're asking you, what are you looking for just dating, for just a friend, short term, long term? I don't know yet. It could be a combination of all of
I'm
it.
asking because there's bound to be some people out there that are in this state of okay, I don't think I'll never find somebody that's gonna compare.
I'm pretty sure that's gonna come up fairly early on in conversations. You know, probably even.
But is it okay for them?
I don't. But Rob, I think you're asking that in a form of not everybody's going to go into that meeting with intention. You know, so that doesn't mean it's not going to happen, right? Just because they don't have things happen all the time that you never intended. It's just I was in the car business for 20 years, and so people would come in. We're just looking. We're not going to buy a car for 6 months.
Kicking tires.
Yeah, kicking tires, and then they leave with a new car. I didn't even intend on buying a car today.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just like
It's the same thing. Okay. So I think the very act of overthinking it. Now there's also a respect thing that if it comes up in conversation, you be very true and be very open.
So I think this is interesting because you're 17 years after, and you're 8 months.
Yeah, the first date I went on, the guy was talking about marriage. I was talking about running. I couldn't leave fast enough.
And you guys both have, in my opinion, different responses on this question so far. You're very much, I think you're in your place right now. You are somebody who is looking for that every day, that person to come home to. And I think you are exploring.
Yeah, I'm looking for companionship, somebody I can have fun with and
that's so cool.
Enjoy this next chapter of my life. My kids are grown, they're adults. I can do what I want financially. So someone that would add to my life, not subtract from it, and someone that would
so let's ask that a different
be a fun
way.
companion.
So you meet that person, right? And like, wow, this person's great. I can see myself doing this. I can see myself doing that. I can see myself doing this. But yet this person continues to also date other people, right? So then there's going to come a point in time where, what are the true intentions and where do we stand? And, you don't do that in the first date.
Those are conversations you have in every relationship.
Wouldn't you know that though? Like, wouldn't you know, like based on how it's going, you have a date and then they're texting you, I don't know, the next day or whenever, where you're constantly, I think when you're constantly thinking about that person so much when you're not together, when
there's no space for anyone else. That's when you kind of know.
Correct. Yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly what I'm saying. When you're both thinking about the other person so much that you don't want to imagine your life without that person, that's when it's time to take a relationship to the next level, whatever that looks like. For me, I may never get married again.
Yeah.
And so the person I date has to be okay with that thought.
Yeah, I mean, in at this stage in life, I mean, what is a marriage other than a piece of paper, right?
Right.
So, I mean, and how intimate is a piece of paper, right? So, life partner could be a life partner. It doesn't necessarily have to be defined.
Be very financially intimate.
By right. To make the cut.
People that do that, there's people that date people for money or different things like that. I'm not one of them.
Yes.
But you got to have your shit together.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yep. But okay. Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because sometimes, let's say that a companion or a partner is, for some, it helps them become more well-rounded and get their shit together, right? So you have to be open-minded there too, because if maybe someone's used to someone running their entire household, even the finances too, and that was you in that relationship. So now you have to stop and think about the reverse. If Chris was still here and you weren't, he didn't have a lot of practice in that field. So now it is, 30-something years later, and you run into now similar situation where it's someone has all the same characteristics of Chris, and he is used to his wife being that person. So now this becomes a kind of a game changer in that you may have to reevaluate. So, and it's too early on. You figure that out down the road. So I'm just giving you another perspective and a different way to look at things, because I can speak for myself personally too. Like the rug was pulled out from underneath me, and that's the best way I can put it. So just because that may be the case, there's always reasons. Like, people drive past the homeless person on the street and think, what a lazy bum. I mean, they need to get a job, and you have no idea why they're sitting there on that corner.
I think that's fair. That's a fair perspective and thought and analysis. I guess to circle back around and answer on that, it comes back to another core value. So how do you think about money? You know what I mean? What's your relationship with money? When
but-
things are tight, do you tighten up, or do you keep
Yeah,
spending the same amount you did before?
Okay, no, that's true, and that's very true and very fair. But we don't know if you have to understand the struggle and the reason for where they are at that moment. It could be very temporary, but also too, I mean, they could have exhausted all of their resources and savings for a sick wife.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's fair.
So you just really do not know, or a whole nother, maybe there wasn't life insurance. I can speak from experience there. And the dual income is no longer dual income, and it's very expensive. You didn't have to worry about the child care before, and all of a sudden you do. So you don't really know sometimes the reason for the struggle. And it could be irresponsibility completely.
Right.
I guess you have to be open-minded enough to understand the why in the why.
So how do you explore that to know that you can ultimately kind of run down the same road, and maybe it was just a situation?
Well, that's as you start to become, the more time you spend with someone, getting to know someone, you are going to see how they are in every aspect of their lifestyle, right? And making good decisions, making bad decisions. But someone can make the very best decisions when they're with someone, and they can make very bad decisions if they're not. So it's truly rounding that person out, truly being the yin to the yang. And so the same could be true on the other side of it. You might be really great at managing your money, but you suck at everything else, right? So that there might have been a lot of things that Chris is very good at that you weren't, and and maybe some of those things you're finding out now, right?
Yeah.
And so I
like how to fix stuff and do stuff. I mean, I'm resourceful, I'll get it done.
That's what I'm saying. I think you just have to. I'm not saying compromise, but you have to understand, I guess. And compromise is a good word. But you also shouldn't have to settle. If it's important to you, it's important to you. The only thing I'm saying, and maybe the point I'm trying to make, is you want to understand the reasoning for it.
So
why is someone still single? Like,
so
why
how
am
do
I still
you-
single at 51?
So how do you have that conversation without invading someone else's space or
I
being
don't know
too?
if it's a matter of a conversation or observation. Sometimes you don't even have to have the conversation. If what you're seeing, if you see the signs, and you continue to see the signs, and at that point in time, it's going to come a point in time where you do have the conversation. Because early on, I think what you're doing is you're observing. Yes, you're having conversations, but I think that, a true form of intimacy is the act of getting to know someone, so you can say too much and blurt too much and do too much all at once, right? And you're not going to get it all out in one date. It's a series of getting to know somebody.
I'm never going to tell somebody how to run their life, right? But going back to the same example, right? Taking exactly what you said and saying, all right, maybe there's something.
But there would be a pattern there. If it's just, if you see a pattern of A, B, C, D, and F, and it's all a mess, then I would probably lean towards your gut feeling as being correct, right? I don't know. I guess it depends on what season they're in, and there's a lot of different ways to look at it. And we just stumbled across the financial part of it, and who knows, is this person a business owner, and did they just experience this? Did they just experience that? Well, you're supposed to have reserves, a contingency plan. Okay, well, maybe they've exhausted all of that. Maybe this, you're just understanding, or maybe there was none of that, and it was just irresponsibility. Or bad decisions.
I think, like, in this particular situation we're talking about, right? It's also like a continuous mangled intertwine of certain finances with like an ex-girlfriend, right? And so maybe that is sort of the traits, but like it's you each own different cars, but you're driving the other one, and you still have some stuff that's intertwined. Like for me, I'm thinking
that's a problem.
There's no way I'd be in that position where I couldn't pay my house payment or my taxes or whatever, but yet I'd be driving a finance truck.
That's a whole different, and that's a whole different animal, because like if you haven't let go of someone completely in that regard, besides a monetary required child support, things of that nature, then you haven't fully committed to the new person. If you're still holding on to feelings, or if you're still going through the motions of taking care of another person without taking care of yourself first. And I've been guilty of that too, because that is myself being a provider and having that, weakness almost.
Do you ever feel stuck in that situation?
I got stuck in that situation, and my kindness was definitely taken advantage of big time. And so I can see, and as a result of that, could have led into that. So I made bad decisions. I've made bad decisions, and a lot of that's what I'm saying. So the other person could come around and help you make better decisions. And maybe the reason for the situation they're in is because really they were just really trying to help, someone else.
So I think about what you're saying, but again, it's sort of the core values. Like, if
100%.
If your situation sucks, great. What are you going to do to get out of it? Like, what's the plan?
Definition, Miss Handy.
What's the plan to figure it out? Is there an effort to do that?
And they may be able to articulate that to you, right. And it just might at this very moment. So, and if they have the answer, then maybe you don't have to run. If they don't have the answer, then they haven't really stopped and grasped and thought about it. If they don't know there's a problem, there's probably a problem. But chances are, if you ask them, they'll know there's a problem, whether it's pride or not. But they will. There's an awareness there. Let's put it that way.
I feel like so this show, it was good. We sidebarred a little bit, which I think can be really great because we bring some value to the initial conversations, like general outlines we have started. But this whole thing was about rekindling the flame, bringing back that spark and the stale relationship. And I feel like we kind of pivot into, but it's almost like a better title or outline or thought for another show.
Yeah. We're squirrels. We squirreled around, but we're getting there.
But it's life, right? That's the way life shows up. You're never going to run down this perfect lane.
No.
Life is always going to divert you to the right or to the left.
Imperfect, yet there is beauty in imperfection. For sure.
That's right. You got to embrace it. Well, I think next time we're going to be talking about rekindling the flame and bringing the spark back. Oh, no, that was this show. The other one was keeping the spark alive in a healthy relationship so that it doesn't get stale.
This is true.
I think that's the plan for next week, but we might pivot and change it up a little bit.
You never know where we may go.
Well, I'm one of your hosts, Katrina Madewell.
And I am Jason McIntosh.
And this is Live,
Love, and Loss.
And
Till we
meet again next week.
Love and loss again.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.